Long before the rise of modern nations, two great African kingdoms ruled the northeastern part of the continent, the Kingdom of Kush and the Kingdom of Axum. These two civilizations were powerful, wealthy, and proud. The Kingdom of Kush was located in what is today Sudan. It grew strong after the fall of ancient Egypt's new kingdom, and once even ruled Egypt itself for nearly a century during the time of the 25th dynasty. Its first capital was Napata, near the sacred mountain of Jebel Barkal, and later the capital moved to Meroe, a beautiful city filled with iron furnaces, pyramids, and palaces. For hundreds of years, Kush was known for its skilled blacksmiths and traders. The kingdom traded gold, ivory, iron, and slaves with nearby regions and distant empires. Meroe was called the City of Iron because of the black smoke that rose from its workshops where iron tools and weapons were made. To the east, across the Red Sea and into the highlands of what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea, stood the Kingdom of Axum. Axum was another center of ancient African greatness. Its kings built tall stone monuments called obelisks, some reaching over 20 meters high. The city of Axum became a hub of international trade, connected to the Roman Empire, Arabia, Persia, and India through the Red Sea. Both kingdoms were centers of culture and power, but as centuries passed, their paths began to cross. Each wanted to control the rich trade routes and fertile lands of the Nile and Red Sea regions. This growing rivalry set the stage for war. By the early 4th century CE, the once mighty Kingdom of Kush was beginning to weaken. The world around it was changing, and trade routes that once passed through Meroe were now shifting toward Axumite ports on the Red Sea, such as Adulis. Without trade, Kush's economy started to suffer. The iron smelting industry slowed down as the forests around Meroe were cut down for fuel. The soil became less fertile, and food production declined. In addition, foreign trade partners began to favor Axum, which had a better location for sea trade with Arabia and India. Inside the kingdom, power struggles and regional divisions made Kush weaker. Meroe was still rich in culture, but it no longer commanded the strength it once did. Many historians believe that environmental challenges, trade losses, and political decline all contributed to its downfall. Meanwhile, to the east, Axum was becoming stronger than ever. The Axumites controlled much of the Red Sea coast, which gave them power over the trade of gold, ivory, and spices. Axum's wealth and influence grew rapidly, and under a new and ambitious ruler named Ezana, its army became one of the most feared in the region. King Ezana of Axum, who ruled from around 320 to 360 CE, was one of the greatest African kings of the ancient world. He became king while still young, guided by a wise tutor named Frumentius, a man from Syria who was shipwrecked near Axum and later became an important religious leader. Frumentius introduced Christianity to Ezana, and over time, the young king accepted the new faith, making Ezana the first Christian ruler of Axum. This was a major moment in African history, as it made Axum one of the earliest Christian kingdoms in the world, even before much of Europe adopted Christianity. But Ezana was not only a religious ruler, he was also a powerful warrior and empire builder. Before and after his conversion, he led campaigns across the region to expand Axum's influence. He sent armies south into what is now Yemen, across the Red Sea, and north into Nubia, where the weakened Kingdom of Kush still stood. Ezana saw Kush as both a rival and a barrier to Axum's total control of trade routes along the Nile and the Red Sea. To make Axum truly supreme in northeast Africa, the old Kingdom of Kush had to be subdued. Around the mid-4th century CE, the tension between Axum and Kush turned into open war. King Ezana ordered his generals to march north and west toward the Nile Valley, where the Kushite cities stood. The Axumite army was strong, well-trained, and equipped with iron weapons. They moved swiftly through deserts and highlands, crossing rivers and defeating local tribes allied with Kush. Ancient inscriptions found in Axum and northern Sudan describe this campaign in detail. Written in the old Ge'ez language, they record Ezana's victories. In one of his famous inscriptions, Ezana said that he subdued the Noba and the Kasu, names referring to the Nubian and Kushite peoples. The Axumite soldiers attacked several towns and burned them to the ground. They captured prisoners, seized cattle, and took valuable treasures back to Axum. Their greatest target was Meroe, the heart of the Kushite kingdom. When the Axumite army reached Meroe, fierce battles followed. The Kushites fought bravely to defend their ancient city, but their weapons and resources could not match Axum's growing power. The city was eventually captured, looted, and set on fire. Flames and smoke rose above the pyramids and temples that had once been the pride of Africa's Nile Valley. The destruction of Meroe marked the end of the Kingdom of Kush. After centuries of greatness, ruling Egypt, trading with Rome, and building pyramids, the kingdom finally fell. The war left behind ruins where cities once stood. Many Kushite nobles were killed or scattered. The iron furnaces that had glowed for centuries went cold, and the sound of the hammers that once shaped metal faded away. With the fall of Kush, Axum became the undisputed power in the region. King Ezana announced his victory proudly in his inscriptions. He wrote that God had given him success over his enemies, showing his belief that divine power supported his rule. The fall of Kush was not just the end of a kingdom, it was the end of an era. For nearly 1,000 years, the Nile Valley had been ruled by African kings from Kush. Now a new power, the Christian Kingdom of Axum, took its place as the leading empire of the Horn of Africa. The Axumite Kushite Wars changed African history forever. The fall of Kush allowed Axum to dominate trade between Africa, Arabia, and Asia. Its ports on the Red Sea became centers of international exchange, linking Africa to the rest of the world. Under Ezana and his successors, Axum grew into one of the strongest kingdoms on earth during its time. It became known for its architecture, written language, and early adoption of Christianity. The tall obelisks of Axum, carved from single pieces of granite, still stand today as symbols of this ancient power. Archaeologists and historians continue to uncover evidence of the war. Ancient inscriptions, ruined cities, and burnt layers in the soil of old Meroe. These discoveries remind the world that Africa had empires as old and mighty as those of Rome, Persia, or China. The story of the Axumite Kushite Wars is more than just a tale of battle. It is a story about how power shifts between civilizations, how religion and trade can shape destiny, and how African history holds lessons of both greatness and loss. The fall of Kush and the rise of Axum marked a turning point. One civilization faded into history, and another rose to shine brightly across the ancient world.